promised earlier, let's give it 1-2 minutes more for everyone to join, and then we can start. Okay, good morning one more time, good afternoon, depending on where in the world you're now listening to us. I'm happy to see all the participants or all the attendees already joined, but for the sake of those who are on time, we will start. Of course, everyone who will join will be able to join during the webinar. Just a bit of introduction before we kick it off. Now I would like to introduce myself. My name is Michal, and I will be your moderator for today's session that we're gonna hold. Yeah. The session is on record. So for those who will join later, or those who cannot stay till the end, or those who missed this presentation live, we will share with you the recording so that you can afterwards review it if you need or if you want, or of course you could share with some of your colleagues, peers, friends, relatives, yeah, whoever might be interested in this. So the recording is already on. In terms of the timing and in terms of how we're going to proceed, the presentation will last for approximately 1 hour. And then in the end, we will have a Q&A session. So that's why I would like to ask you, everyone has access to the Q&A. Please feel free to drop your questions during the presentation, or in the end, we will reserve that slot for this part. But just for you not to forget them, yeah, you just can share them in the in this blog, and I will give the read to all of them, and our speakers will reply to them. Okay, then let's kick it off. I think that we're set. I would like to introduce to you our today's speakers, who are Michal Bodnar. Michal is our senior consultant from Adastra Business Consultant. He will be speaking about from customer data to marketing magic based on the experience that he has accumulated in these last couple of years in working with the Adastra Business Consulting. And on the other hand, on the second part of the session, we have our colleague, our partner, I could say, Petr Solnicka, who will be talking to us, or who will be presenting today the same topic, but from the perspective of Exponea. And will show us a bit of the magic behind, let's say, the screens of us as users. So I will not take too much of your time. I would like just now to give the word to Michal.
All right. Thank you, Michal, for the introduction of ourselves. Again, good afternoon to some of you and good morning for the rest. Indeed, together with Petr Solnicka, it is our pleasure to be here today and share our experience from the area of digital marketing, and namely in the ways how to utilize the first-party data, meaning the data about our customers or prospects, for the increase of your sales from digital channels. That's the key goal of today's webinar. You can go ahead. Before we start, please let me very quickly, and I promise it will be just one slide, introduce the company I work for. As Michal already mentioned, I'm a consultant at Adastra Business Consulting. which is a management consultancy belonging to the Adastra Group. Adastra Group is a Canadian Czech company with headquarters in Toronto and Prague, and other regional offices all around the world, Europe, Asia, North America. Apart from ABC, the group consists of other companies specializing in the mobile development, AI and machine learning solutions, data management in general, marketing, creative, as well as data governance. We've been serving our clients for more than 20 years, covering more than 50 countries and delivering hundreds of projects all around the world. That's all regarding my company. And now let's go to the real topic of the webinar. So what brings us here today and what it will be all about? Yeah, when we were thinking with our colleagues what would be the best topic for the upcoming webinar, we thought of various topics, but in the end we agreed on this one. We want to show to our existing but also prospective customers how to elevate their digital sales. The motivation is pretty clear. We are all in the pandemics. The COVID-19 pandemics hit all the companies pretty badly all around the world. And clearly, and it's not only the buzzword anymore, digitalization and moving to the digital world is even more important than ever. While in the past, and I will be talking mainly for the financial world, the digital channel was rather a complementary channel as a main income stream to the main income streams. Right now, it is becoming, and it will be becoming even more, one of the most important income streams for the financial institution. And so here's the motivation for today's speech. In the next hour, will be split into two parts. In the first part, it will be me talking for 30 to 40 minutes, hopefully not more. And I would like to present the audience the practical digital sales use cases which I had experience with delivering to our clients, and which help them to increase their key KPIs. That's either volume or conversions from the digital sales. And that is the key aim of the webinar. Before that, I would just like to set the foundation of today's talk and acknowledge everyone what actually is measured in the digital sales. In other words, introduce the digital sales funnel, its key metrics and the drivers that are behind it. And the second part, I would like my colleague Petr to present the so-called customer data experience platform called Exponea. It's the tool that we used during my experience and during my projects to implement the use cases that I will be showing you in the first part. And the whole webinar will be finished with a quick demo of the tool where Petr will show you how easy it is to operate this tool. So please, let's go ahead. So let's start with the introduction of what is the digital sales funnel, what are its key drivers, so we all can set the foundation for our discussion. So digital sales are the sales originated from either public web, where the client comes, or from inside the mobile application. That's I think we can all agree on. And tracking the digital sales funnel from the left to the right is the key prerequisite for any organization to know how it stands in terms of the digital sales, at which points or at which components it goes well, and where we need to get better. The digital sales funnel you can see here is just one of the many different variants that you for sure encountered with, and for sure encountered with other channels, maybe having more or less components used either in the different industry or for not for the acquisition of the client, but for the cross-selling of the client and so on. This is the funnel that we are usually working with. It's used mainly for the acquisition of the new client and mainly, but not only, for the financial industries. And what are the components of this funnel? So from the left to the right, we have at the beginning some digital channel visitors. That's basically a website or an app visitor, which is defined usually by the cookie. Yeah. Then we have a potential lead. It's still a cookie, however, a cookie that is performing some very significant actions that are letting us to say, yes, that's our potential lead. Then we have a so-called qualified lead, which is a potential lead, which is qualified for further communication. That usually comes into the point where we can identify it, and we already know who we are talking to. It's usually defined by phone number, email, or any other identifier, for example, username, to your user portal. That's one of the key steps. We need to make a qualified lead to come to the application process for a specific product, shall it be some financial product or some e-commerce product, and engage this customer. And in the last step, we want this customer to go through the whole process and to become, or this prospect to become our client and take this product. So if we continue further.
Actually, Michal, before we continue further,
yes,
we are launching one poll to our participants about how they are how to say measuring, or which they think that is their engagement in terms of the digital sales funnel.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's wait for the results.
Yep, I launched the poll. Please just rate from on a scale from 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. How are you rating your digital sales funnel engagement in your organization that you are working in? We have half of the attendees that are responding or responded. Let's just give a couple of seconds more to give opportunity to everyone. And in just a couple of seconds, I will share the results.
All right, I'm pretty curious.
The counter is still turning, so I will give just a couple of seconds. Yeah, so please make your decision now. Okay, I will end now the poll, and I will share the results. Okay, so classic number 3 is the winner, as I can see. Interesting to see that no one put number 5, which means the best engagement, which usually means that at any point of time, at least from my perspective, what I would rate as 5 is that any point of time you can end-to-end track all the steps in the funnel and see where you are gaining and where you are losing. So seeing that, we can say that there is definitely a space for improvement for a substantial part of the attendees today. And I do hope that what we will show today to you will help you in the future to move more towards 4 and 5 than rather 1 and 2. So very interesting to see that the audience that is today is the key audience for us. So maybe we can continue. Sure. All right. So what are the key drivers behind this funnel and how to drive it and boost it? The steps are probably pretty clear and they're very simple. However, usually in the practice, they are very hard to execute. So at the beginning, we need to create some initial traffic. In other words, making sure that we open the floodgate and as most as possible, the visitors comes to our website. Then in the step number 2, we need to engage the visitor as much as possible. We have to personalize the content for him. We have to make it appealing for him in order for him to come back to our website as much as possible, to engage him and become interested in our products. In the third step, we need to identify him and to know whether we are talking about the prospect or the customer, so we know what should be our next steps. Identification of the prospect is very important step in the digital world, and there are different techniques how we can do that. We will talk about it later on. In the fourth step, we need to make sure that our lead will apply for the specific product. Again, we need to serve him the content that is relevant for him, the banners, the personalized web that will be interesting for him, so he can apply for the specific product and for the product that we think that he should and he wants to apply for. And in the end of the day, and that's the most important for us, we want to convert him, we want to sell him the product. Here, we need to track very clearly the whole application process of the client, let's say, behind his back, to see whether he has any issues with the application. If yes, really react real time to any issue he has, and then be sure that he can come successfully to the last step. Of course,
There are some things we cannot influence. For example, when we're talking about financial products, there is some underwriting process behind and some criteria which will disqualify the applicant from converting anyway. However, here we are talking mainly how we can drive it from the marketing perspective. So these are the 5 points. And if we continue further, and what are basically the actions that we can do to boost our sales and to actually, as you can see, increase the funnel from the gray areas higher and higher. That's to show you for illustratory perspective. That's actually 2 actions. The first one, as I was mentioning, we need to make sure that the initial traffic is as high as possible. And in the second point, we need to make sure that the conversion from 1 to 2, from the step number 2 to step number 3, and so on, is as high as possible. And I would like maybe again to raise one more poll. It will be the second question for today. There will be just one more, and to ask you whether you are able to reach your digital sales goals, and if not, what are the reasons that are keeping you from reaching these goals? It's a multiple answers question, so please choose anything or everything that applies to organization. So for us, it will be much better to target the content of this webinar later on.
And while everybody is voting, I'll just give I will read the options. Yeah. So first option is missing the appropriate infrastructure or tools. Second option is missing the focus of my organization's management. Third, missing the internal expertise in the area of digital. Fourth one will be the missing the proper digital process set. And the last one, in case that you don't find yourself in this other, and I see that there are already people who are clicking on other, I would very kindly ask you if you could share with us which is the other reason that you have, just to understand a bit of the background. Yeah. So if you clicked on the other, just send them in the Q&A. It can be as a comment. Okay. I would as well give a read to that option. We have slightly more than half of the attendees who chose already, who voted. I will give the last 10 seconds so that everybody has the opportunity to vote. Okay, I'm done. Ending the polling, showing the results.
All right. Okay, that's very interesting because the second most common answer is missing the appropriate infrastructure tools. And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today, about the tools that you should incorporate into your architecture infrastructure in order to enable the smooth, let's say, digital sales. But the most common one is missing the proper digital processes set. Yeah, and to be completely honest, we are also seeing it very often in the organizations. And that's also related to the topic of today, that when you want to really set the proper digital process, the process has to be always centered around the customer and not around the specific channels that you are trying to serve customer with. So it's really about changing the mindset and go from channel-centric view to the customer-centric view. We are going to get actually very specifically to these 2 topics or these 2 pain points today. So that's I'm very happy actually that such results came up, because it will be very interesting for you in the rest of this webinar.
Thank you everyone for the answers. I will now stop sharing the results, but still I see one person, I don't know who, I see one person that voted the option other. I would and me and my colleagues would be very interested to understand which is that other reason that is stopping you from reaching the digital sales goals. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And Michal, I'm giving you back the microphone.
Yes. I have, so let's quickly continue. Yeah. So right now, when we were talking about the main drivers for our sales, I would like to very quickly present you how we can actually drive it and what are these techniques or tools that or approaches that can help you to drive it. Yeah. For creating the initial traffic, I think it's pretty clear. We have some search engine optimization, social media, some advertisements, and some display that can really help you to boost your traffic that comes to the website. However, this is not the topic for today. We are gonna talk mainly about point number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So once you have already the prospect or customer on the website, what to do with them. So in order to engage the visitor, of course, there are very cool techniques what you can do. You can personalize your website of the app. You can serve the personalized banner in real time to the customer, the banners that will fit his needs. You can retarget the prospect or the customer to your advertisement platforms such as Google Ads, Facebook Ads, or Adform, enhance the audiences and serve the relevant content. That's something what Petr Solnicka will be showing you later. And of course, you have to be able to enable real-time analytics on your website. So either rule-based or predictive ones where you'll be able to know what should be the next steps with your customer, what segment he belongs to, and what to serve for him. In order to identify the prospect, here I'm just like mentioning a few use cases that we usually use in order to increase the identification. First is to identify via one-off email campaign. You send the email campaign to all your customer base, yeah, and you will put the link to the content of the email by which he can click onto the website. Using that, especially for example, using the tool Exponea, you are able to match the cookie of the customer together with his email, and in that moment, from the next time the customer comes to the website, you already know that he has this cookie and he is our customer. So this is identification technique that has worked for us very well. Then of course you can identify during the login to the internet banking or any other user portal, contact forms, that's pretty clear. Or you can use the call me back banners where you will show him the banner where he can leave his phone number. It's not very aggressive, but it also works. In order to make the customer to apply, so that's number 4, to consider the offer, the techniques are very similar. Again, you have to keep personalizing the website. You have to keep very relevant content to the client. And here you are trying already to follow up using the direct and indirect channels because you already have the contact details. So slowly but surely, you can start sending some SMSs, emails, the call center can call you, or in mobile app, you can send some proper push notification or in-app message. For every step, of course, you have to real-time analyze the behavior of the customer. And in the end, you are trying to cover the customer, where again, you are following up with him with the proper channels, with the proper communication to make sure you are not losing him from the process. Yeah. So in the second step now, I would like to show you the use cases and how you can go further. Maybe you can come back to the previous one. Maybe I would like to show you the use cases that 3 use cases that I personally helped to implement in the financial organizations, and which helped to increase the key KPIs of the digital sales funnel for them. So if we go further, the first use case I call web loan calculator. It's the simplest one and with the shortest time to implement for our clients. In this use case, we used the non-personalized banners, we analyzed the real-time client behavior, and we were following up with the client using the call center. In the end, after I show you this use case, you will see what benefit it actually brought to our clients. So how was the situation before? Yeah, before our client worked with their prospectus customers on the website in the following way. The client come to visit the personal website, for example. Yeah, I'm anonymizing a little bit what products it was, but let's say it was personal loan website. He looked at this loan offer. If he was interested, he clicked on I'm interested. He left the contact details in the contact form. And then in day +1, the call center approached the leads and negotiated and sold the loan. Pretty straightforward process, which I think most of you have in your organization. What we did, however, if you go to the next step, we little bit extended it. Yeah, we were not only looking on the upper part, meaning clicking and tracking where the client was interested, but the website of the personal loan had also a loan calculator. So we tracked the loan calculator as well. And the website also had the option to download the PDF with the conditions of the loan. So we tracked that as well. And if we saw that the client came for the second time to the loan calculator, based on the fact whether he was identified or not, it did not have to be client or prospect, but whether we were able to identify him. In case we identified him, we directly pulled him to the call center. In case we did not identify him, we showed him the call me back banner. The same approach we did with those prospects or clients which downloaded the PDF with the loan conditions. If we identified him, call center; if not, banner. The banner was call me back banner, so he could leave the contact details on the banner, and in case he left it, we again pushed him to the call center. We were showing the banner until he left, basically, to us the contact details. Of course, it was not very aggressive, and there were some contact policy applied in behind. In the end of the day, again, the call center tried to negotiate the details and sell the personal loan to the client. So maybe you're asking yourself what benefit this brought. So if you go to the next slide. So first of all, I would like to tell you, we were able to implement this in 3 weeks time, which from my perspective is pretty fast implementation. And it brought us a 30 to 160% increase in the new leads generated. This range is because we applied it to many different products from the banking industry. So that's why such range. So we can see that we really were able to engage with the visitor much better. And the second, these leads brought the increase in the conversion rate. They had 35 to 250 times, 250% increase in the conversion rate, higher than when we were using just the contact form. So we brought the new leads to, in 3 weeks time, we brought 30 to 160% more new leads to the funnel. And these new leads had significantly better conversion rates. So they were not only more of them, but they were of a higher quality. So that's the first use case, 3 weeks time to implement, not the rocket science. The second use case is a little bit more complicated. We call it personalized loan offer, where we already work with the website personalization. We use the real-time analytics for that as well. And again, we use the follow-up using the call center. So again, Michal, if you can look, what was the situation before? Yeah, in the situation before, when the client was browsing the web of the bank, let's say, and he closed the web, then he returned to the web. And we usually showed him, or the bank showed him the content, the website with the same content to every visitor, no change. Yeah, or maybe different content, but again, the same to every visitor. In case he was, let's say, come back, please. In case he was interested in it, he filled the contact form, he was approached to the call center, and the loan was sold or negotiated. What we did was the following. Let's go further, please. So when the client browsed the web of the bank and he returned the web, we were able to identify him after some time and see, using the data that we had, using the customer data that we had, whether this client is a bank customer or the bank prospect. In case it was the bank customer, we ran the next best offer model, which was calculating the best cross-sell product to offer for the client. Again, for illustratory perspective, in case he fall to the segment A, we showed him the content with the product A. In case he fall to segment B with the product B, in case he fall to segment C with the product C. It was a personalized content showing him the product that we think would be the most interesting for him based on our next best offer model. In case it was a prospect, so we did not have his customer data, but what we only had, not only, but we had the history of his interactions on our web or in mobile app. We made a rule-based analysis of that, seeing how many times he visited which product. And based on that, we again did a simple segmentation. And for the specific segment D, E, and F, we show the specific content for product D, E, and F. In the end, the client, if he was interested, again, he filled in the contact form, he was called by the call center, in the end, he sold, the loan was sold probably. And so what it brought to us, if you go to the next slide, it took us, first of all, 6 weeks to implement that, of course, together with the local marketing team who had to prepare some new content for the web. He had to personalize the specific sites. And unfortunately, we cannot reveal the specific digits, but it was higher double digits increase in the lead generation. That means that we increased again the key component of the funnel at the very beginning, where we were again able to much better engage with the customer. He was much more interested in the content, which in the end led to the higher conversions of the products and increase of the sales. So again, very simple use case. Took us 6 weeks, from my perspective, very short time to deliver. And it brought a significant result for the organization, which before was not considering such options at all. And the last use case I would like to show you, it's from it's a little bit different because it works already with the existing customer, and it's called loan offer via the mobile app. Basically, to existing customers, we were trying to implement the process where via mobile we will offer the loan. We use their push notifications, which are personalized. We incorporated a fallback scenario in it. Again, in the end, we are following up using the call center. And because the client was international, we also implemented the language versioning so we can be as much, let's say, personalized and as much relevant to the customer as possible. So if we go further, so how actually it worked at the beginning. So we had the target group for the cash loan campaign created. It was created by internal team of the bank. And before they sent the email to all the customers, where there was, of course, a link in the email to click through to the application process. And then application process started. In case the client finished it, it was fine. In case of he did not finish it within the 3 days, the call center called him and tried to approach him and sell the loan. Yeah. If you go to the situation after, what we did is, again, we had the target group for the cash loan campaign. However, we were not going through the email because we thought that it's better to go for some more trendy and more digital channel. So we went with the mobile app. We prepared the push notification offer, personalized push notification, which was sent to the customer. It's push notification number 1. In case the push notification was received, we continued further. In case it was not received, we sent him the SMS. Why the push notification should not be received? Well, it can happen that either the customer will disable them, or there can be some technical issues in behind. He may not have created the push notification token yet, and so on. So we also counted with such scenario. Yeah. So if you go with the happy path and he received the push notification, we were looking whether he clicked on it or not. In case he clicked on the push notification, he was redirected to the application process in the app via the deep link. In case he did not click within 2 days, we send him a reminder push notification number 2, which is up. Yeah. And in case he clicked on it again, we again redirect him to the application process. The same was from the SMS, where we send him the link where he could get to the application process and also step-by-step instructions how he can get it directly through the mobile app. So now you can say that we are much more engaging with the customer than before. And the process afterwards was the same. In case he did not finish the application within the 3 days, we called him from the call center. It was again near real-time integration to the call center. And in case he just finished it, of course, then the loan was approved. So what benefits it brought? Yeah. This use case was a little bit more complicated in terms of implementation because we needed to integrate the push notification sending for the client. We need to prepare the fallback scenario. deep links, and so on. So it took us 8 weeks to implement. I'm not talking about implementing the customer journey in of the cash loan that was already done, but the things around that. And what we were greatly surprised with was how much the open rate of the push notification increased compared to the emails. Yeah. Um, Within the emails, you had like single digits open rate, so something from 1 to 10%. Here we were going on the higher double digits, so it was more than 200 times increase in the open rate of the push notification versus email. So by click on the push notification, you basically already got to the application process. So in step number 4, and of course the conversions are going to be the higher. Because it's an ongoing project with our current client, we do not know yet the specific results in terms of the sales it brought. However, I'm pretty confident with such an increase in this step of the funnel, and take into account that we are talking about the same client base with a about more or less homogeneous client base, which has the same loan offer, then the conversion rate will be, of course, much higher than it was before. So this is the first and the last use case. And now I would like to, in my last 10 minutes, or actually 4 minutes before I give my word to Petr Solnicka, tell you what, from my perspective, was the key change makers for success for the organization. Yeah. And I'm not going to talk about the management focus and so on, but more from the perspective of digitalization and of the mindset of the organization that it has to go through. So first, and I already mentioned, is you need to go really from the channel-centric to customer-centric approach. You need to center your world in the sales around the customer to see his touch points, how he is actually, and what he is doing on the web, mobile app, email, branch, call center at any point of time, and how it's related to each other. Right now, we see that most of these worlds are segregated from each other, which is, of course, not good for delivering the omnichannel journeys. The next change maker is the data storage. Yeah. Before, all the data, all the interactions were stored in the different storages: web data, email responses, mobile app actions. For you to be able, and it's related to the first point, for you to be able to real-time track what's happening on the website and react with some event-triggered campaigns, you need to have this. You need to have all the data in the single storage. Otherwise, it will be very hard to do so. The third change maker for us was the data timeliness. Yeah, it's a very big difference if you respond to the client's action the next day or a few minutes later. Imagine that if the client comes to your loan calculator and plays with it, you are not the only bank that is actually working with the calculator, or that is actually interesting for the client. He most probably is checking many banks, so you need to react in a real time and approach him and catch him as soon as you can. So that is the third one. The fourth changemaker was, of course, the detail and the comprehensiveness of what you are tracking on the channels. On the left side, you see something that is very basic. Yeah, visit of the website, filling the contact form, and so on. On the right side, you are seeing more interesting things: tracking the loan calculator, seeing which loan amount he is actually looking for, what is the maturity of the loan that he wants to take, knowing that he was checking the loan conditions, tracking the responses of the push notifications, knowing whether he clicked on it or not, whether he opened it in which time, and so on. And so that is actually very important for you, because only by that you will have a better understanding of your customer and knowing what he does. So please track your channels as much as you can. Number 5 is the communication innovation. Yeah. Up to now, we were mainly using the traditional channels, and we are still using, and they are still good, such as SMS, email, letter, web, and so on. But we have to really go more digital and go to the channels that are more interesting for our customers today, and also due to the recent situation. Here I'm talking about personalized banners, about the push notifications, about the web personalization which you showed you before, and about the mobile app in general. Like these things should be really incorporated into your digital customer journeys in case you want to engage the customer as much as possible. And the last is, of course, the personalization. This is a very simple example that I'm showing you, but it really does work. The more personalized you are, the more the customer feels included and understood from a perspective. Personalization is not only by calling with the right name, but also by knowing which product you most probably would like to get. I know that by tracking you as much as possible. Yes, you can see the example on the left side where it's very generic, not so much interesting on the right side, where it's very much personalized. Another example is when we were sending the leads to the call center. Again, we were making the call center agents knowing what the customer was looking at. We were putting there the loan amount, how many times he looked at the loan calculator, what specific product it is. So they could already have a very personalized talk with their customers. And the last point from my side that I would like to say before I give my words to Petr is basically what is the missing piece in your architecture from my perspective. The missing piece, which aggregates all these change makers, is so-called customer data experience platform. It's a platform that usually stands close to your campaign management tool or on top of campaign management tool, or even it can replace it in some cases, which enables you using the first party data, meaning using the customer data to orchestrate the omnichannel journeys for your customers and prospects and speed up the digital sales. And which customer data experience platform do we recommend for you? Of course, we are vendor agnostic, and ABC is clear about that. We can help you with implementation of any specific tool, and not only implementation, but also the selection. However, the use cases that we showed you here and the platform we have the most experience with, and we really proved to be successful, is called Exponea. And now I would like to give the words to Petr Solnicka, who would like to tell you more about this tool and what else on top of what I presented to you it can offer.
Actually, Michal, sorry, Petr, before going to you, I would like to launch one more poll, just to understand a bit which are the the preferences, or which are the tools with, or like the platforms with which our participants today are already working with. Yeah, so yes, we're going to continue with the Exponea, though we would like to see a bit of the audience profile. So if you could please select from the options you have now shared, which are the customer database, customer data experience platform that you are using in your organization or you have previously experienced. You can select multiple platforms, and I will have the same request, please, as previously. Those participants who chose other, I would very much appreciate if you could share with us the name of the platform that you are using or you have experience with in the Q&A box. So we have half of the audience that already voted. I'll just mention the option that there are. Yeah, so they're in the chronological, not chronological, sorry, they're in alphabetical order. So we have Adobe, MRCs, Exponea, Salesforce, and others. Okay, I see people are still voting, so I would give the space 10 seconds for those who are still choosing. Okay, I see that voting stopped. Voting stopped. Okay, I'm ending the poll and I'm sharing the results.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. So if I may comment it, we can see that, yeah, some of our customers already do have experience with Exponea. However, most of them have experience with the Salesforce. So maybe Petr, it's up to you, but maybe you could also pinpoint probably the advantages that you see in Exponea as compared to the Salesforce platform. However, it's nice to see that many of you do have experience with at least one of the customer data platform. So I believe, Michal, now the floor is given to Petr.
Yep. Thank you very much, Michal, for your intervention. Thank you for the presentation. Though there is just one thing which I would like to mention, because in the presentation you were somehow touching and you were showing the processes bank related. Though what I would like to somehow leave the idea here is that these tools and these flows and this, let's say, logic can be implemented regardless of the industry you are. It can be telco, it can be insurance, it can be actually any industry which is offering some services to the customer. So let's think a bit more broad than rather banking. Yeah, though the use cases are bank related, it's applicable as well elsewhere. Thank you very much, Michal. Petr, giving the microphone to you.
Okay, Michal, thank you very much for the introduction. So just a very brief introduction on Exponea's part. So Exponea as a tool was developed by a former IBM consultant who basically realized that in the old campaigning world, the whole data model was focused about the campaigns, about the offers, but actually it was very difficult to find out at the time what is actually the core context of the customer, how we should personalize stuff which is relevant to the customer at any given time. So when Exponea started being developed, we were being developed about this entity of a customer, and basically started defining a term, a customer data platform, before it was even defined. Now, if we look at the tools currently, such as Salesforce, Adobe, and many others, so in 2019, they announced that they are going to build their customer data platforms, which was already at the time where Exponea functioned on the market for more than 5 years. So this would be maybe the first differentiating platform factor. The second one is that Exponea as such is a one platform, which is bottom-up integrated, and it allows you to basically run whatever use cases in a single flow. So if we see how the function looks like, so if we follow up on the next slide, what we try to do is to concentrate on a single customer view, whatever interactions we might track in real time from digital channels or from mobile channels, whatever data we have about the current products or offers, whatever data which are pre-calculated maybe or used in the CRM or ERP on the current customer base, to combine these and basically to distill some analytical insights based on which we can start running communication, not only to the customer base, but also to the prospect base, if we, for example, speak about the anonymous website visitors. So if we follow up, then basically within one platform, we can address the whole life cycle, not only from the customer's part, but also from the prospect part. And you only need one platform to it. You do not need to integrate different modules with one another. You do not need to basically spend more time and more integrations into purchasing various parts of a system to make it work, which is again something which differs Exponea from the other enterprise-grade systems such as Salesforce or Adobe, where basically when Adobe and Salesforce were building their stacks, they were already huge companies and they started purchasing specialized solutions and tried to integrate it with one another. But as it so happens, many times the integrated solutions might have some issues, for example, with the real-time processing of the data. Many times, if you want to actually build the single customer view, you need 2 or 3 modules to work together. So this is not the case. Exponea works as a one single platform. And now, why is this so important? So if we follow up on the next slide, we started working in Exponea and we started basically creating end-to-end funnels for our customers, which oftentimes started working only with the anonymous web data. And later on, we started spilling over to other areas to also work with the current customer data. This use case is a great example of a beginning of a cooperation that we did with one of our banking clients, where they were already using stacks from Adobe, but they actually wanted to implement use cases to increase their sales of the loans from the digital channels because they were having a hard time hitting their KPIs and they needed to do something quick. So what we did was we simply integrated Exponea with the website, started collecting the visitors' data, and based on the visitors' data, we started when we already had a couple of weeks history. We started training the models based on which of those visitors actually placed an order, which of those visitors actually applied for a loan. And based on this data, we started training prediction models and creating segments with the highest probability of those visitors who have the highest probability to apply for a loan. Then we had a segment with medium probability and a segment with lowest probability. What we tried to do here was to first try to manage the bidding in the retargeting channels. So this might be a similar case to maybe lookalike audiences working with Facebook or Google, but the main difference is that these lookalike audiences work with past data. We were predicting the future behavior. And the reason and the results were quite interesting because thanks to this, not only we were able to target those visitors who had the highest chance of actually converting, but we were also able to optimize budget. So more targeting for less money, let's say. If we follow up, so if we were able to successfully retarget the user, so then again, it's important to continue in communicating the personalized message. So if the user returned back on the website, for example, the next day, not only they didn't see the generic content they saw during their first visit, but they already saw a content which is relevant for them. So in this case, calculating a loan for home. Right. So then again, what Exponea tried to do was creating a consistent experience, a consistent content for the visitor. Later on, after actually the application went forward, we were, if we follow up, we were basically applying other principles and implementing other parts of the journey, which I'm going to show you in a second. So if we look at the principles for the success of the identification and of the conversion approach, so Exponea can help very much in identifying in the session whether it's a prospect or a current existing customer. We are doing it based on the combinations of IDs that either Exponea is creating or that we consume or track from your data or from the website channels. The second part is basically really understanding what is the right product category, what is the right intent for the visitor, and we can just define it either via some rule-based analytics or we can just let automation do it and define it based on some machine learning models, which Exponea contains. If we follow up then with the right channel, we can create and orchestrate the journey to be able to consistently communicate the message to the visitor or to the customer, depending on what kind of data we have, and basically work up all the way to improve the customer journeys to address every piece of the funnel, as Michal was showing at the beginning. And if we are successful at the end, if we follow up, we can basically find out how the process works. We can start triggering internal processes and, for example, send also some NPS surveys or other satisfaction surveys, as we can see on the following slide. So this is again a very important factor, because if we find out that the visitor or the customer, so the visitor who already converted, so the customer at the moment was successful with the process, we can again use these satisfaction data as any other input into the model's calculation, into the analytical calculations, and we can focus on the satisfied users to start offering upsell, cross-sell offers and continue with the funnel to create long-term relationship with the current customer. Last but not least, what we work on very much now is, if we follow up, is the multi-arm bandit approach. So this is something which we want Exponea to do automatically, and it basically is targeting the right segment of customers with the right message. So until now, you could find out what the right message might be thanks to the A/B testing. But A/B testing allows you to find the right option for the majority of customers. It will not find you the best option for individual segments. And like this, with the multi-armed bandit approach, we want Exponea to be able to automatically decide and design in what placements, via what channels can we communicate the best offer. Right. Right now, I will take my screen sharing and let's jump directly into the platform. So this is what's interesting. So just as a brief introduction, so Exponea basically stands on three main pillars. The one is data and assets that we work with, and what I'm currently showing is an example of a single customer view of in Exponea. So Exponea can use whatever data structure or data model you want to apply, you are used to. So we do not have a fixed data structure and configure it. It's very easily. If we look at the identifiers for the demo purposes, we used here an email address, but it can be whatever client ID, customer ID, or whatever other unique identifier that you are currently using. And if we look at the soft IDs, Exponea can start again collecting many internet-based, online-based, or mobile-based cookies. Exponea works with the first-party data, but we can also consume third-party data if you are using any. But this is already an industry that might be limited a little since the new regulations on the third-party cookies, or since they are being very much limited with many browsers and with many providers. If we follow up, there are other kinds of data on the profile. So we can see whatever static properties, whether it's contact information, demographic data. We can see other attributes, whether we do or do not consider the customer of high value, whether the customer does or doesn't have a pre-approved loan, whether they have a personal banker, or we can also dynamically start calculating various inputs, including, for example, a probability of churn of the given customer in time. These predictions, again, can be calculated either directly in Exponea, or they can be used as inputs, maybe to your big data models. And why I'm showing it, why it's important, is that whatever kind of data you have, whether it's interaction data, whether it's something imported from your systems, whether it's something tracked from the mobile channels, this can then all be used in the targeting, in the scenarios. And if we look at one such scenario, so we were already having showcases of use cases in the digital channels. So why not going a step ahead? So this is a use case that we implemented for one of our customers, and it's just anonymized for the demo purposes, which was really a nurturing use case after a loan application was started, but was never finished. So how it works in Exponea is that since Exponea works in real time, we tracked an interaction with the application form on the web page, and this basically started triggering the flow for the visitor on the web page. We wanted to wait for the 2 hours, let's say, just to give time to the user to fill in the application form. We do not want to target everyone on the website right away, because otherwise this is what would happen, because Exponea works in real time. So in the meantime, we were also looking whether there were any interactions with product pages, whether the user was returning back to the loan calculator, working with some campaign responses. And basically at the end, after those 2 hour periods, we were checking whether the loan application was actually submitted. If it wasn't submitted, then the fun starts. So what we started looking at was first whether we do or do not know the customer. So whether on the customer profile we do or do not have the unique customer ID. And if we didn't have it, we presume that it's an anonymous visitor or it's an unidentified customer yet. But still, even for anonymous visitors or for unidentified customers, you may start executing some actions. So the first action you might do is basically personalize the web, which I showcased on the slide, or you can also start pushing the user to the ad audiences, whether it's on Facebook ads, whether it's Google ads, whether it's ad form or other integrations that we provide. If in the meantime we were successful in tracking a phone number, what we can also do, if we decide so, we can generate a lead to a call center via webhook. So webhook is an API connection where we can just push to the call center that, hey, this visitor on the website was applying for the loan but never finished the application. It might be worth to contact him or her to finish the process. And if we didn't have the phone number, but were able to track an email, We may find out that we can track the email if we have appropriate consent for it. And basically, again, the emails might just prompt the visitor to finish the process. So maybe analogically or similar to an abandoned cart in the e-commerce. If we follow up with the other part of the scenario, so if we found out did we actually do know the customer, we have the unique ID. Again, what Exponea was doing at this case was asking via webhook API just whether the customer is eligible for the loan, whether they actually can get the loan in the size that they were applying to. And if yes, then we started looking at what other channels may be utilized, what other messaging may be utilized. So we were looking at whether the user has a mobile app, what kind of data they are, what kind of channels they are using. And if even after 2 days the process wasn't complete, then again, we decided to notify the call center. Now, why I'm showing all this is just to help you realize that you can, if you combine and if you have the data available in one place about the online interactions, if you have the data available about current customers, if you have the data available about eligibility, so something pre-calculated, you can all combine these to create a really precise targeting. And also within these scenarios can end with multiple actions. So again, some of the competing platforms that we compete against, they allow you only to create one workflow ending with one message and then create another workflow ending with another channel, which is very, very, very difficult. In here, you can combine and you can see that you can orchestrate the same relevant content across the personalization on the web, across the retargeting, across the call center, email, and if you are integrated also with the mobile or browser push notifications, A/B test various kinds of messagings that you want to say. So this is again extremely important because it will not happen in such case that you will contact the potential customer or the current customer with one offer on one channel and with something completely different on other channel. The inconsistencies are basically eradicated by this approach. So this was just to illustrate that you may follow up like this on the other side of the funnel. And then, yeah, this was an acquisition use case basically, but we can also look at the churn preventing use cases. We can look at the retention building and anything else. I just want to be mindful of the time. So I will stop here for the now so that we can move to the Q&A session. But if you are interested to see more, please do contact me and I would be happy and willing to share any other insights or showcases of the platform if I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Petr. Thank you very much for actually the quick but very extensive, I would say, guide through the presentation or through the platform that you are presenting or offering. We do already have a couple of questions on our agenda, so let's see whether there will be something already what you mentioned. But if not, yeah, I think that people can contact you as well. I'll just share my screen if you will allow me, Petr, just to show the contacts, yeah, of you. While I'm projecting back my screen, I would like to ask everyone to, now is the moment, yeah, we have the last 12 minutes, which are dedicated for the Q&A session. We already have, I think, 5 or 6 questions on the agenda. So I will gladly read them one by one so that everyone has an overview on this. Meanwhile, I'm projecting as well the emails and the contacts of the guys in case somebody would like to contact. Okay. While you're writing your questions, I'm answering to those that are already in. And I will first choose the ones which are more, let's say, administrative. The first question is if you will share this recording. The answer is yes. The recording and the presentation will be shared within the next days with all the participants, those, as I mentioned, who didn't manage to join on time or who had to leave earlier or who were not present at all. We will share this presentation with you so that further you can share it with your subordinates or friends. Second question, probably, well, it's a question that might be as well addressed to Michal and to Petr. Are there any local or country-specific limitations that you have met before?
Well, of course, and maybe not only country, but also the specific organizations. Of course, every country has some regulations which are influencing the way how we can communicate with the client. Yeah, these are mainly related to not really annoy the client. So you have some contact policy by which you are able to send a limited number of specific communications to the client. And of course, the set of tools you should use in the specific country. For example, right now in Bulgaria, we are working with one client also on implementation of CDXP. And there, the WhatsApp is not really the thing, but instead the Viber is the thing. So we implemented the Viber instead of the WhatsApp channel, because that's something that we know has the highest penetration in Bulgaria. On the other hand, in Czech Republic or Slovakia, Viber is basically not used. However, in Philippines, again, it is very much used. So these are some specifics, I would not call limitation, but specifics of the local market that we always have to adjust to, so we can be the most customer relevant.
Mm-hmm. If I may share my view, so it's like Michal says, I wouldn't say that there are so huge regional specifics from our experience. If we look at the European or US markets, we already start also penetrating Asian markets. So I'm looking forward to see what are the differences going to be there. But still, what we discovered is that Exponea provides such a high level of flexibility that basically almost every time we were able to accommodate the customer's specific needs on what kind of channels they may or they may not use, what kind of communications they can create. And yeah, I mean, it's the flexibility of the systems that enabled us to provide a quality experience every time.
Okay, thank you, Michal, thank you, Petr. Next question, Petr, I think it will be more to you. How do you deal with data security?
Mm-hmm. Great question. Thank you very much. So we have a dedicated security department and an independent data protection officers who are working very hard on basically running Exponea in a secure environment. Currently, we have, I think, 5 or 6 ISO certifications. So we are being regularly audited to find out how we are processing the data in cloud, whether we are able to process PII in cloud satisfactorily, what is our business continuity management, and so on. So all the certifications are available and I can share them. So this is one part. The other part is that we are holding SOC2 type 2 audits again and certifications. We received these reports, and again these reports are being independently mapped based on an audit created in Exponea that we really adhere to the highest security standards that we possibly can. So we believe these certifications is extremely important because they are oftentimes part of the regulations for the banking industry to use any third-party system. So this would be the way. And yeah, then there are many other areas that I could speak of. For example, from the infrastructure point of view, how the system is based, from the process point of view, how we work. But really, this is usually covered by the audited and by the certifications. So I will stop right here. But if you would like to discuss this topic in more detail, please get in touch with me. I will be happy to answer any other questions.
Yeah, thank you, Petr. I would encourage you exactly to contact you because we have a couple of questions pending. So I would rather give the space for those as well. Mm-hmm. So the next question is, Petr, most probably as well for you. Is there a limitation with respect to Exponea storage on a per user or enterprise license?
Mm-hmm. So the licensing that we work with is not based on the number of customer profiles. We do not have something like an enterprise license. So how we work with is basically the estimation of the data usage in total, right? And since we are a cloud-based system, cloud-based environment, we can be scaled to accommodate really huge chunks of data and still being able to process it in real time. Just to give you an idea of the scale, we have several customers who have hundreds of millions of customer profiles in Exponea that they work with. We have customers who are sending, for example, in their mobile channels, they are sending something about 5 or 6 million push notification messages per hour. So this is the scale we have experience with that we work with. And yeah, to be honest, I do not know how far can we scale it. This is, I think, the highest numbers that we are currently working with, but I'm looking forward to find out. So I hope this answers the question.
So limit, the sky is the limit, yeah?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Okay, one more question that came in is, can you share verbally some e-commerce use case?
Mm-hmm. So we can share many. They are also available on our website where we have many interesting success stories. I'm thinking about what kind. Mm-hmm.
Maybe Petr, abandoned shopping cart is like very common and successful, right?
Yes, but that's so basic, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to share something more exciting. But yeah, I mean, if you look at, for example, at cart abandonment, we do not only need to do the cart abandonment, but we can also do the visit abandonment. We can also do the wish list abandonment and use cases like this. What we, for example, figure out in the cart abandonment is that it's really great to combine the communications not only via abandoned cart email, but also follow up with a text message after, for example, 24 hours when we see that the customer who we send the email to didn't open the email, so we try it via the SMS. We also do, for example, abandoned banners. So if the user returns back on the website, they can see what products did they leave in the cart. And not only that, Exponea then recommends what other similar products might be suitable to buy with what is currently in the cart. So this is, for example, a nice use case for the fashion industry where you can combine not only the behavioral analytics about the customers, but also the product recommendations based on what might be fitting the customer.
Okay, thank you, Petr.
Michal, there is one more question from the attendee, so maybe this one.
Yeah, I'm now reading it.
Okay.
Do you have any experience with integrating CRM systems, mainly Salesforce or Microsoft? Thanks.
So if it's a question about integrating Exponea with these CRM systems, then yes, we have experience. Many of our customers is using it, but I think this is a question which is better to ask our colleagues from Adastra because they are usually the experts in the implementations and they are the implementation partners.
Yes, so regarding implementation to CRM, yeah, I'm not like the biggest tech guru, to be completely honest. However, this is usually the task that we do, yeah. And if you want to integrate with the CRM, it really depends on your needs, whether you want to do it as a real-time integration, meaning if you want to feed the data from CRM to Exponea in real time, which can be interesting in case you have some really data that are important and that wants to be put to Exponea in real time, for example, data about consent, for example, so you are not breaching the privacy of the client. If you don't need the real-time integration, we recommend to do the batch integration. Usually we are integrating with Exponea using the SFTP server, where the data from CRM are being sent to the SFTP server, and Exponea is repeatedly looking to the SFTP server, consuming the data, and then integrating into its data architecture. So long story short, yes, we do it all the time. And the way how to do it depends on the needs of the client.
Thank you, guys. We have 2 more questions that popped in. If there is somebody else thinking if it's the moment or not, yes, this is now the moment to ask the last question, as we have the last 2. And if it will be the best question, then we will take the third one. Yeah, so so check it there. So the next question is probably to Michal, is what might be the return on investment for a mid-sized bank?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Well, before I answer that, I would like to say that we were showing today mainly Exponea for digital sales increase. However, it's a tool not only for the sales, but as Peter was saying, for the whole customer lifecycle, retention, customer development, as well as for the use cases such as replacing the SMS sending with push notifications, which is multiple times cheaper. Yeah. That's, for example, one of the use cases that we did for our banking customer just recently. So all in all, like when we want to calculate the return on investment, we should take the value of all these use cases in our consideration. We usually come up with a return on investment of 3 to 5 when we take into consideration the license cost and the cost of implementation versus what we can bring on from the net interest margin increase of the sales and the other use cases that I was just telling you now. So these are the usual numbers that we come up with.
Thank you. Thank you, Michal. Probably the last question, Petr, goes to you. What are the main differences between Salesforce, Google Analytics 360 degrees, and Exponea?
Thank you for the question. So if we look at Google Analytics 360, so Google is trying to start connecting their stack together, but Google Analytics is just the analytical tool, right? So it enables you to track some actions. It enables you to create some analytical insights or data visualizations based on these actions. But what Exponea can do is very simply already create these analytical inputs and use them again immediately in the campaign. So if you, for example, create a segment based on these data, you can immediately trigger a campaign to these customers. The only thing you need to do is just to create a visualization. So that means that you do not need to export the data, to import the data to another system, to push it anywhere else. It's all in one place in Exponea. The second thing, so if we look at the differentiator, for example, against Salesforce, so then again, Salesforce already has something they call a customer data platform and a single customer profile, but it's actually put in place from 3 pieces of their platform, which need to be integrated together. And Salesforce as a stack has a huge stack, bigger with Exponea, because, for example, we do not supply the CRM, but we try to be the expert in the campaign automation, campaign orchestration, and yes, again, since we are a single platform which is bottom-up built, all the data is really processed in real time. The user interface we have is at least marked by our clients as a more suitable for the business users. So a less complicated, because it's all a low code or no code platform in Exponea. So this might be again one of the differentiators. So you buy one single Exponea as the whole platform, and it's up to you what capabilities you are using. If we are speaking about Salesforce, you need to think very hard what kind of use cases you want to do, because based on these, you need to think very hard what kind of modules from Salesforce you actually need to purchase.
Great. Thank you very much, Petr, for the answers. I think that we have exhausted our 1 hour, 15 minutes. I would like to say thank you to our lovely audience. I think we got great questions. This shows a great, it shows an interest in this topic. We do look forward to your answers or calls, questions or calls, if you need any further support with this. But aside from that, I would like to say thank you to Michal and Petr for this great journey we had today through the topic on the customer data and how to improve our digital experience. Thank you so much. Wish you a nice day or afternoon, and see you on some other webinar held by Adastra Business Consulting. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.